Last week, the S&P 500 jumped 1.9%, the Nasdaq advanced 2%, and the Dow Jones rose 1.6%. U.S. stock prices climbed and finished the month sharply high despite trade uncertainty, which continued on Friday after President Trump stated that China had totally violated a previous agreement that saw a 90-day suspension of tariffs on the country. Late in the week, an appeals court suspended a trade court decision to overturn most U.S. tariffs implemented this year. On Saturday, as expected, OPEC Plus decided to continue unwinding previous voluntary production cuts, adding 411,000 barrels per day to production from July. Crude oil and natural gas prices retreated. Gold and silver prices declined as the dollar continued to climb against most of its rivals. Platinum and palladium turned lower amid darkening trade sentiment at the end of the week. The announcement that President Trump will speak with Chinese President Xi this week calmed trade war fears early on. Russia and Ukraine concluded a new round of talks on Monday without agreement for a ceasefire, but potential new U.S. sanctions on Russia could be debated in Congress this week. Reports suggest that Iran could reject U.S. terms for a nuclear deal, and markets will await official comment on next steps, which could include military strikes against Iran. Thursday's ECB interest rate decision will be noted, while Friday's non-farm payrolls data will provide the most important release this week. Palantir's stock price jumped 3.4% and traded close to an all-time high on Friday. The main catalyst was a late-week announcement that the company secured a $795 million contract from the U.S. government. The deal means that Palantir will hold a lot of sensitive federal data and intelligence-related information, and underlines the success the company has had with its AI software and its ability to exercise influence in government. The company has surged 74% so far this year. Netflix's stock price rose 1.3%, with the stock recording an all-time high mid-week. The streaming service has jumped on recent wider positive sentiment, but also due to the upcoming release of popular shows. Squid Game will be released in June, followed by Wednesday, and the blockbuster series Stranger Things will be released later in the year. In April, Netflix reported better-than-expected earnings and a record increase in subscriber numbers over the previous quarter, while the company ventures further into live events and interactive programming. Crude oil prices fell 1.84%, with black gold hitting a 3-week low during the week. Oil was under pressure after OPEC officials signaled it would like to add another 411,000 barrels per day to production, ahead of its OPEC Plus meeting to decide on voluntary production from July on May 31st. White House statements that the U.S. was very unhappy with the Chinese approach to trade negotiations also acted as a drag on prices, as traders fretted that high tariffs could be reimposed and negatively impact oil demand. Gold prices fell 1.6% as sentiment for most of the week remained positive. A firmer dollar also negatively impacted the precious metal, which is calculated in dollars. An ongoing ceasefire between India and Pakistan, a potential ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, and a reported U.S. ceasefire proposal being made to Israel and Hamas also contributed to traders shifting away from safe haven instruments. Silver's price declined 1.3%, as commodities fell across the board last week on rising concerns that a trade war could impact global demand, particularly if the largest importer of silver, China, is again targeted by the United States for higher tariffs. Current industrial demand for silver from China has been weakening, as evidenced by a recent slowdown in solar panel production. A stronger dollar is also raising the price of silver for foreign currency buyers. The AUD-USD pair retreated 1.11% after the Reserve Bank of Australia indicated a slightly more dovish approach, amid expectations that another 2 interest rate cuts are expected this year. Slightly weaker Chinese manufacturing and construction data also put the Aussie under pressure, since it implies reduced economic demand from China, which is a major importer of Australian iron ore and coal. Stronger data from the US and easing trade tensions for much of the week helped support the dollar against its rivals this week.